Welcome to Scaling Professional Development Pathways from 0 to 40. We're glad to have you here. My name is TJ Hoffman, I'm with Sydney, and we're going to talk a little bit about what Sydney is, but really we're here to talk about the ways in which Sci-Fair ISD, we have representatives actually from every grade level and every level in the district here, talking about their experience using video to enhance professional learning and what that might look like. So I want to start, we'll introduce everyone, and then Dr. Macias requested that we talk about what Sydney is, even though I'm always sort of embarrassed to do that, but she always reminds us that that's the only way people will know is if we tell them. So, but why don't we start with introductions? So,
Becky Cope, I'm a Smith Middle School principal.
I'm Dr. Linda Macias. I'm the Associate Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction and Accountability for Sci-Fair.
And I'm Lauren Pruitt-Shane. I'm a campus instructional coach at Sidewoods High School in Sci-Fair.
Dr. Tony Goria, Assistant Superintendent for School Improvement and Transformation.
So Sydney is a software platform, and I'm going to play a little video while I talk about it. You're only going to have to listen to me talk about it for 1 minute. So we're a software platform that Sci-Fair uses for the purposes of creating professional development pathways. So that might look like coaching. These are actually all Sci-Fair people. This is, I think, Frank Owen. So these are where you can capture video and feedback, text feedback connected to the video around teaching and learning. Teachers can capture their own teaching using the mobile app. You can use any device to capture video, but our native apps do make it really easy to capture video and text feedback, other kinds of learning artifacts, and then share that video with secure groups of people in secure spaces that we call huddles. But you're able to use both the mobile app and the web version of Sydney to provide timestamp comments, to use frameworks and rubrics to collect more quantitative data around teaching and learning, and look at that data over the course of time so you can see data, both inputs and outcomes, so how engaged people are with professional learning, but also what results do you see. But really it's about the sharing. That's the thing that I think from our conversation yesterday I think is the most valuable. The ease of being able to get into rooms that you wouldn't normally be able to get into, whether you're a teacher or a coach or a school leader, and see teaching and learn from those best practices. So why don't we just start? I think that's about as much as I'm willing to talk about Sydney. But why don't we just start with just a conversation with you guys about sort of what led you to want to use Sydney in the first place. So what was the journey like for you guys?
Okay, so I was doing something where I was sending teachers into classrooms to observe other teachers. We were doing some John Samora, and I read a book about questioning, and I was having teachers go in and give a teacher's feedback on their questioning, and we were using paper pencil. And that was a good idea, and it was productive, but then you're trying to schedule people during people's conferences and team them up with people that are teaching at that time, the subject, and then Dave came to I was with Rice Reap and came and presented Sydney, and I thought, what a great way to, one, be able to get teachers to see other teachers teaching, but not have to bind it by a schedule. They could view it at any time, and it was just a really great platform to continue what we were doing, giving peer-to-peer feedback, but using Sydney. So,
And then Becky was very excited about the opportunity and what Sydney had to offer, so she invited me to her school. She was an elementary principal at that point, to come and see Sydney and the opportunity to present it, what it could do. So I did. I went and I saw Sydney in action, and I immediately thought about two awesome opportunities for Sydney that could certainly change teaching and learning in our classroom. So the first thing that hit me was, oh my gosh, this is definitely a game changer for building teacher capacity. for the opportunity for our teachers to become better at their trade, and in turn, to be able to provide that teaching and learning that our students need. But the second thing that hit me with it is we're a large school district, 117,000 kids, lots of schools. But it doesn't matter if you're a little district or a large district, you never have enough district staff to be able to go out and support the campuses, right? We're limited number of infrastructure we have. And so I thought, well, we have a lot of our schools that are asking our curriculum coach, the district level, and our coordinators to go out to the campus and sit during a planning, we do collaborative planning, during planning to provide input or help guide the teachers in a certain way. But truly, if I'm honest with you guys, most of that coaching, that support the district provides is to our campuses who really need our lower performing campuses. We don't have any IR schools, but we surely have campuses that are not meeting the standard that we set inside there. So when schools call us that are performing well, typically the answer is, oh, we really can't because we're over here. But in seeing what Sydney had to offer, I thought, wow, the opportunity is endless to be able to provide that coaching, that support to teams and teachers during planning through video. They can submit it through Sydney. The ELAR coordinator or coach can sit and watch and give input to those time stamping. So the opportunities, the way I saw them, were just endless for both teacher capacity and increasing the support to campuses.
So at Woods, we had heard about Sydney. One of my colleagues had been to the conference RRR and heard somebody up here probably talking about Sydney, and so she brought it back to us as instructional coaches, and we at that time either had all played sports or we had coached sports, and we knew the value of video reflection, so we were really excited about it, and we reached out to Dave Wakefield, who came to our campus and kind of talked to us about it, and then we were immediately sold because, again, we saw what it would do as coaches to build teacher capacity and push teachers towards self-reflection. So that's how we got into it.
When I was in graduate school, I read a article from Bill and Melinda Gates, and it talked about better feedback for better teaching, and there was a part of that that included video recording feedback, instructional coaching, and it struck a chord with me, and I thought, we're going to do this. I know it's going to be a difference maker for our kids, for our teachers. So I started that 3 years prior to being introduced to the Sydney platform. When Becky brought Dave to Sci Fair, and I was part of an initial group, an interest group, to come and hear about Sydney and the platform, and we were already using flip cameras, which getting results because of the video coaching part of it, but then the Sydney platform allowed us the ease of the process. It was a time saver. It was a game changer. It was so convenient. Instead of us plugging in that flip camera and letting that wheel spin and spin and spin, hoping that video would download, it was like, it takes about 30 seconds for video to upload from to our devices, from our devices to the platform for us to utilize. So that's how I was introduced as the initial group to hear about the ways that we could help better serve us using video instructional coaching.
And when we first heard about Sydney, when I first visited and then talked to Dave, and we talked about, okay, how do we roll this out? And so we did it voluntarily. So which campus principals would like to hear about Sydney? And we had a group that came and heard, if I remember correctly, we brought them to a meeting. I think we provided lunch for them, if I remember correctly. Because I said, right? Yeah, because I said, Dave, you got to provide lunch. And so they came to a meeting, and then it was, we were allowed to volunteer. There were 7. And so we started with those 7. We have not gone and said to campuses, you have to do this, or we need 7 more. It's all been through word of mouth by the principals. So the principals say, wow, this is awesome, we're going to do great things with this. So the first year we had 7, then, and that was in 2015. The second year, we had 5 more. The next year, 2017, there were actually 17 that wanted to also be a part of Sydney. And then this last year, we had 9, and I know we already have more, but it's all been through the principals talking with each other and talking about the capacity, the improvement of teachers teaching and learning, and in a great way to support our teachers as well.
I think after that, we had a lunch and learn on my campus where individual principals came and we just kind of sat down and I talked with them with my team through it, showed them the portal, worked through it, had a mock video up and kind of gave them a run through, and I think those are some of your adopters, they once they learned about it, then they wanted to kind of dig in a little deeper, so that I think was valuable for them to come and just get like a little small grouping. I think we had like 6 or 7 principals and their leadership team come and meet with us.
So
I was just going to say, Amber, I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe you could share with them how you're currently using video. She has actually multiple roles within her district, and so she was really interested in, visiting because she's actually using video. And we just met. Amber, I know, and they're using some video back when I didn't get the details of. But it'd be really interesting for you to share how you're doing things today. Then that way, I just thought.
So, the reason why I love hearing about this is when I was in the classroom, I would videotape myself and would reflect on it myself. And then I became an instructional coach, and I had my teachers do it. And I did learn that I pushed too hard because I didn't give them the volunteer option. I'm like, we're doing this. Because I knew the benefit, but I didn't do it the right way. And then, so I was an instructional coach for a couple of years, and now I'm at the district level, and I want others to see, how beneficial this is. But the problem is, here's what we're doing now, is they take their phones, how you all described, and they would, just have it just on the device. Yes, just in the device. They would have to bring it on a flash drive to the PLC, and then I would upload it into OneDrive, which is we're a Microsoft district, and then I would share the OneDrive file with them so that we could communicate together about it. So that's what we're doing, or did on my campus. Now I want to go district-wide because I do know the benefit of it.
Well, I think you guys might speak about this, but the importance of giving teachers an opportunity to become comfortable.
Yeah. Right. I think the thing about it, since I've done different levels and different things with it, not just reflecting on their teaching them individually. I think one thing is I hear what you're saying, like giving them a choice. I think Linda gave campuses a choice, but I think as an instructional leader on your campus, you realize that sometimes you just gotta know that you're gonna get a certain percentage that aren't gonna like it, you're gonna have a percentage that aren't comfortable but are gonna do, and you're gonna percentage that are gonna be addicted to it. You probably were one of those addicts that to videotape yourself all the time. And I've had several teachers that are like that, and that's awesome. But there's varying. If you listen to Ron Clark, you have the runners, you have the walkers, and you have the people that you're dragging behind you. So you have to know that you'll have a different level. I think the thing about having a plan and having a definite plan and timelines and all those kind of things. I was talking the other day about, I've thought about it because, it's really not a super expensive thing, but, as a building principal, you're like, where are you going to put your money? And I thought about, I could do it in Google Hangout, and then I could have a separate document where I did the comments, and then we could look at the thing, and then we could look at the comments, and because teachers tell you how many clicks it takes, right, to put in grade, everything, it's the clicks. And so if you have to go in multiple places for it to happen, it won't happen, and you'll hear a lot of the talking about it will be more about the process of getting to the end than actually the actual reflection. So this whole thing here is like the one-stop shop, right? I videotape myself, I get to go in there, I get to make comments, it's timestamped. So say I do you're coaching, you can go, I love this here, it timestamps it. Now the teacher can go right there. So they have their specific praise or their specific feedback at the specific location that they can go there and see it. And so you're not having to watch the video, where is that? So for you, you're making it so cumbersome for yourself and for them. And if you have to say, put it on a flash drive, then they have to find a flash drive, and then the flash drive has to be able to hold the video. Right? It's that whole process, which we know as campus principals, if you do that, people will not do it, they'll have an excuse, whatever. This way you're like, well, just get out your phone, push on the app, lean it against a book. I mean, I've gone in and done them and just leaned it on a book. I didn't bring any big thing fancy, or I was in there and I just held it on the desk because I thought this is great. So this way, it's like so smooth and seamless. You'll go like, why would I? You're beating yourself up right now, right?
Well, it truly
Exactly.
was. It literally, that's when it took a year to get everybody comfortable. And then because it was so much work for and I don't want to air quote, but it is a lot of work for them. I ended up taking it on me, and I would come in and like, I will just hold my phone here, I'll record it myself, I'll take it back to my office, I'll bring it to PLC, but it took everything off the teachers, and then I'm like, all my day is spent.
But then you're
doing all
limited
that.
to the number of times you can
Yes.
physically be in a room.
And the one
Yes.
thing that I love from the teachers is they get the choice of what video. So it becomes less evaluative to them is they get to choose. Now they might videotape it, which I had teachers do and go, oh, this stinks, I don't like this. Well, they didn't use that. So what I'm saying is it kind of gives them a sense of power, because that I think is very important, and then you're more partnering with them and less, on them,
So, Tani, you've talked a lot about the importance of how you position this. So maybe that's another thing that maybe you can talk a little bit about.
So I wouldn't beat myself up about requiring everyone to do it, because that was my stance. But it was the way we rolled it out. We shared every step of the process very clearly and stuck to that. Even if we wanted to change something, we didn't. We brought it back to the collective group to say, hey, we were thinking, and if they were in favor, we went there. If they were not, we didn't, because we wanted to stick to the plan. People trust if you say you're gonna do something and you do it, then you build that trust. So knowing the benefits, we started with data. Here's our data. Here's why we need to do this. You gotta tell them the why. You gotta sell it. You gotta have this great sales pitch for how it's going to impact using data, using your own data for evidence. Then we did the self-reflection piece first. Non-threatening, you watch yourself, you record. Self-reflection is one of the greatest forms of professional growth. So they recorded themselves, and looking at the analytics, some people will record and re-record. I wouldn't watch their video because I couldn't see it unless they share it. But in the analytics, you can see that someone may have posted 12 videos. Every time they post a video, they're getting better. They post a video, they don't like that one, so they're, I'm going to redo this. I would hear them say, oh my gosh, I watched my video and, ABC. Then it would redo it. But every time you're redoing it, you're getting better. You're getting better without me having to say anything about it. Then our next round was coaching. We told them how we chose coaches, why we chose your instructional coach, what that process would look like. You'd have an opportunity to have a pre-video conference meeting just to talk about anything you were concerned about. Then we were quick about our time, our feedback. You got to give it within 48 hours. After that, it's kind of null and void. So we stuck to that as coaches. But it's the way you originally presented for us. It was the way we originally presented it to the staff. Like we're all doing this. It's because of this reason. Our data says we need to do something. Here's just something that we're going to do. And we stuck to what we said we're going to do. Very truthful, very transparent. And then the psychological safety piece, you got to record yourself. They got to see you. At staff meetings, there would be a video. There would be a laptop, iPad up in the staff meeting. And then it would go into a home, give us feedback. We just did it various ways. So they saw everyone on the campus, every leader on the campus recording themselves and being reflective about that, and setting the example for what we wanted them to do.
And Lauren, you're sort of in a similar, sorry.
No, that's
you're
okay.
in a similar,
Move closer.
you may be in a more similar boat where, you're both school leaders. Obviously, when you're the boss, you can really just say, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it. You don't have that authority, so how do you sort of enroll teachers and get them on board?
So yeah, at our campus, when we had heard about it and we contacted Dave, it was at a semester. So we used the second semester to kind of play around and try to get volunteers first. So we did the same thing in that any time that we were doing a professional development or we had a meeting, we would be filming ourselves so we can like demonstrate that we're using this program for self-reflection. It's called SIDME, so sorry that there's a phone back there, but it's on me, or any conversations, coaching conversations, we would film ourselves. Then we talked to our team leaders and department chairs about it and said like, hey, we're trying to build a library of best instructional practices. If you're doing a great lesson, let us know and we can show you how to use SIDME, or we can come in and film and show you a little bit about it. So that's how we kind of started the process. Then the next year we made it completely voluntary for PD hours, or if you wanted to enroll in an instructional coaching cycle, then that was part of the instructional coaching cycle, was using video reflection. So we got a little bit more usage that way. And then this past year, we actually got the most usage. There was actually we had 4 instructional coaches, but they moved on to different schools with various promotions, and it was just me this year. And I really wanted to up the SIDME usage, and so I reached out to TJ, and actually we kind of came up with a plan we had all of the teachers in the new teacher induction program, we had 32 teachers in that program this year, so that was any new teacher to our campus that wasn't a transfer from within district. And so we required them to upload 3 videos. The first one in the first semester, and then they had to observe another teacher as well, and some of them, we pushed them in the direction of the library that we had, if they couldn't use their conference period to see a video. And then the second semester, they had to submit 2 more video reflections. And we gathered feedback on that process. And the funny thing was, the experienced teachers on our campus that weren't new to SciWood saw that people were filming and they saw the benefits from that. So then they would reach out to me and say, hey, like, I'm doing this. Can you like show me how to use SIDME so I can reflect on this? And it kind of started spreading a little bit more. And the more people saw other people using it, they wanted in on it to figure out like what's going on with this. So next year we're still going to continue that route with the new teachers, but we're hoping to get more collaboration huddles, which kind of happened naturally for us this year because we had so many new teachers. Mentor teachers were contacting me and they were basically like, hey, I'll give you an example. We had a tech theater teacher, and there were 2 tech theater teachers. One was experienced and one was an ACP teacher, and she really wanted to see lessons from the other teacher. So they were like, can we create our own huddle and put videos in there and watch them and, collaborate with one another? Then I had another new teacher in biology, and she said, this teacher really wants to watch me, but she can't see me before the lesson, so is there any way that I could, upload, again, participate in a huddle where I could upload videos of me presenting this lesson. She can watch it the day before and then be able to do it the next day in her class. So you see that kind of organic evolution of it as we kind of proceeded through it. But next year we're getting 2 more instructional coaches, so we plan on having a little bit more, like we can spread it out a little bit more and try to get the usage up even more. But
Are there like hierarchies of where they share it to? Like if I just wanted to, say my teacher just wants to share it with another teacher and doesn't want the campus principal to see it yet, or doesn't want our assistant super to see it yet, or something like that, can we do that as well?
the huddles are completely exclusive to the people who join, and so when we always told them, like, it is your video. We will ask you for permission if we're gonna use it for any type of, training or to point anything out, like, that's your video and you own it, and complete confidentiality, which you definitely have to stick to, because you're being vulnerable, putting yourself on film.
Can they create the huddles? Or
The
does
person
somebody
will.
like,
No, they create.
The person
They
who
do.
creates the video owns the.
This is really empowering the teachers. The teachers are really in control of this.
So if you guys have more questions, ask more questions. But I reflected on our panel yesterday. I watched it, and because we're all about continuous improvement in Sydney, and the one sort of thing that we hinted at the end, but I want to make sure that we definitely make time for is the word pathways, because we do in Cypher you have different sort of set models of use. So you've got, and we have, if you didn't get the Cypher white paper, we have some at our table that you can come by and pick up. But there's the self-reflection model, there's the collaboration model, there's a coaching model. So Linda, why don't you talk a little bit first about just sort of the expectation for schools, and then we can talk about the ways in which those each get utilized on campus.
So as I mentioned, all of the Sydney schools have been by volunteer, they volunteer. And so the first year, because we look at all the data, and one of the things I love about Sydney is that I can have information about the usage. So how much usage is there campus by campus by campus? And so the first year, again, it was I just wanted them to try it. I wanted them to go out and share with their teachers and have their teachers begin videotaping themselves. As Tanya said, just that self-reflection piece is powerful. And so I wanted them to do that. So they did. And but they didn't really move any further in like the coaching piece, not just the individual self-reflection. And so the second year I watched as well, and I had some campuses that I noticed the usage wasn't as high with some as it was with the other. And so I talked to them, I asked them about it. Well, you know, there's always a reason. Well, we didn't have, it was hard because we didn't have any way to kind of hold the phone up, because they couldn't just, you know, kind of lean Becky like you said, or hold the phone up, or it was kind of hard with the laptop because you're gonna have to figure out a way to make it stay up, or sometimes it was hard to hear. So I thought, okay, well then we're getting rid of all the excuses. So we started providing the Sydney schools with really what you saw up there, the gadgets, yeah, is that what they're called? I don't know. Maybe they're just where you can hook your phone to you can hook something to the computer and hook your phone on there, so it stands there, or the iPad that you could mount it like this, and we even purchased these phone voice enhancement. All of that is very inexpensive. We purchased that so all the excuses were gone. And then by the second year, I said to my team, you know, we got to move them further along, because remember our goal. Our goal is certainly building teacher capacity, improving the teaching and the learning. And so we with Sydney's help, pretty much identified 3 different models that you could choose to be on as a Cypress Sydney campus. So one of them was the teacher self-reflection, which we talked about. The video enhanced coaching, so now you have a coach that's working with you, and the collegial partnership. So now you've got those huddles that they're talking about, where you are inviting your peers to be a part of reviewing or viewing your video, and you're sharing, and you're giving each other input on how to make the instruction better. And so that's kind of what we do now. You're coming on, then you're actually, at any point in your Sydney journey, you're on one of those 3, you're using one of those 3 models, and we're trying to move through those models so we can get to really that most effective that we could possibly have. And you know, another thing that I looked at this year, I don't know if I shared it here or the other group, but we don't have any IR schools in the district, but we do have some schools that are not performing at the standard that we have set inside there. And we have a model that we call, a program that we call the Monitor School Process, and those schools are part of that Monitor School Process. Tanya actually is the one that oversees that. And so I looked at the data. We just got data out, as y'all know, we just got data. I looked at the data for the schools that are part of the Monitor School Process that are using Sydney. And I think most are, with the exception of a few, maybe 2 or 3. And next year they're gonna gently volunteer to be a part of it, and they will when they see the data actually. So of the monitored schools that are part of Sydney, all of them have shown improvement, except one. And there's a reason why that one has not shown improvement, or one reason. It's actually a new principal at a school that has been using Sydney. But as a new principal, she didn't start the year with Sydney. She waited till actually later in the spring to to do it. And Tanya and I have talked about that and gone there and visit about that. And so that's probably one thing there, but that was interesting, that that's the only one, and we knew that that Sydney really wasn't used at that school like it had before. But all the other ones, there is improvement. So in our district, we look for incremental growth, getting us there. And we certainly are seeing that with our Sydney campuses that are in the monitor school process.
And you know, that is, so we like the idea at Sydney of, I wrote some words up here so that I would remember to be structured. And one of the words that I wrote up here is teachable moments. We like the idea of teachable moments. You know, when I was a teacher, I never knew what those teachable moments were going to be, right? Like you plan your lesson plan and then all of a sudden a kid asks a question or something happens and you're like, oh, this is a great teachable moment. It's those informal sort of on-the-spot things that are really helpful. And I think that within all three of these models, they're really structured to increase the frequency of those teachable moments. Like our little tagline is making every moment a teachable moment, because there's no barrier between a teacher and reflecting or working with a coach or being able to collaborate with one another, because they don't have to be in a room in a formal learning environment to learn. They can be anywhere and do that from anywhere. So Lauren, I want you to talk a little bit how you've created those with the teachers that you work with through the process of self-reflection, because they've done a lot of sort of reflecting on their own teaching and that sort of stuff. You're one coach with lots and lots of, you can't necessarily coach everybody, but everybody can learn.
Yeah, I mean, so we basically provided them with, when they did self-reflection, we used 2 of Jim Knight's forms, which were watch yourself and watch your students. So it's like specific questionnaire. So when they reflected on the videos, they would have to watch it twice, basically. And you can see that through analytics too, which teachers really did watch it twice, or if they kind of, but they didn't get in trouble if they didn't really watch it twice. It was just interesting to see the improvement of the teachers who did versus didn't. So that gave them a guideline while they were watching. And then obviously you have the ability to go in there. If I was working specifically with a teacher in a coaching cycle, I would go in and timestamp and give them specific feedback on something so that they can see, like, this right here, this moment right here, based upon your goal that you're working on, this is the feedback that I can give you. Or you can specifically just stamp it and ask them a reflective question that they have to answer in that moment, like right there. So that was very beneficial as well. Then we also had a framework of look-fors that the first couple of years that I mean, it's still in there. We didn't use it, I didn't get to use it as frequently this year, but it was basically a framework that was attached with our look-fors on our campus. So you could go in and specifically, like, this is a bright spot, you did this well, this is the question that I have, and you can click it and like insert a question in real time in those exact moments, so that they can see that right there. They don't have to think about the lesson, it's right in front of them, and you cannot argue with that power of seeing that in front of you. It's objective data, if it's a video. Did I answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I think the point is that, you know, self-reflection is really valuable and it's helpful, but sometimes a teacher, when they don't have any guidelines around what that self-reflection looks like, they're going to focus on superficial things, right? It's going to be either, oh, I wish I had known wearing that outfit, or I talk too fast, or I say too much, or those sorts of things. And those are fine. I mean, you could improve as a public speaker, but that's not measurably improving your pedagogical skills as a teacher to help students learn better, right? And so giving people a little bit of structure around that, I think, is really, really helpful. And then creates the context for these coaching moments, right? And Tanya, maybe you can talk a little bit about this. You know, I know at Francone, the self-reflection was sort of the basis for the coaching cycle, right? So how did that work?
So self-reflection, the videos, we did not ask the teachers to bring, to include us in the huddle. And you self-reflect, that's on you. We did give them guidance and some questions and some look-fors. But self-reflection was our phase 1. And then cycle 2 was with an instructional coach. Well, we did ask, what from your self-reflection would you, because the teacher set the goals for coaching cycle 2. That was the first cycle with a coach, but the teacher set their own goals for what they wanted to improve on. That goal came from self-reflection. Once you did your self-reflection, you answered the guiding questions, what would you like us to work on? And we also asked not only what your goal is for this round of instructional coaching, but what does evidence of success look like? So just to make sure that we were looking for things, and if it was something that wasn't really aligned with what our instructional guarantees were or our focus for the year, we would kind of guide through questioning. And that takes skill. That takes working with the coaching team, calibrating with them, making sure everyone knows how to get a teacher back on track, because it could be something that's way out there that really is not going to improve teaching or learning. You want to make sure that when you're coaching, you're getting the benefits, the teachers are getting the benefits and the students. So reflection led to the goal for cycle 2, first round of coaching with an instructional coach. And then cycle 3, which was the second round of coaching, because the first round is a reflection, then cycle 1 is reflection, cycle 2 is with the instructional coach, cycle 3 is with an instructional coach. But the goal was created based on the instructional coach's perspective. So I've been in your classroom, I've done walkthroughs, I've visited your classroom between the first coaching cycle and the third, and I know a lot that's going on, so I'm going to kind of choose a goal that will continue to move your instruction in the direction we want it, and continue to move those students toward greater gains. So that's how self-reflection led the way for the rest of the coaching cycles for us.
And then Becky, y'all kind of did something different where it was more built around teacher collaboration. So how did y'all?
Yeah, I do. Can I just say one other thing
yeah,
too?
Sure.
The one thing I think you need that people kind of think, well, oh, I'm at a struggling campus, this is going to be my fix, or I'm at a Title I campus, and so I think the thing about it is I've been at both ends of the economic spectrum, and I think my thing that I think is the most valuable is on campuses, if you're in a high-performing district, on campuses and in classrooms, it's going to be the little things that make the big difference. It's not going to be a big program. You're not going to get this new reading program. It's going to be the little things. And so my whole conversation with teachers, if kids need to come in and make a year or more growth in your classroom, regardless of where they came in. So I'm always chasing the masters at the end. Like, I want my kids to have mastered. And so that takes a different kind of reflection in teaching for teachers. So I think there's no opting out. Like, every teacher needs to know that regardless of if you have the Horizons or GT class, or regardless if you have the special ed class, we're all going for the growth, right? The growth of our kids, and that's how we're measured, right? Did our kids make a year's growth? And so we know that it's powerful for every teacher to recognize, what am I doing? Because I, as an appraiser, go in and there's so many missed moments where you sit as a coach and you go, gosh, if they just would have waited a little longer or asked another question. And so this gives them the opportunity to do those little fine-tuning, even those great teachers fine-tune. On my campus, what I wanted, I did a little bit like the goal. The teachers selected a goal of something they wanted to improve upon. And so I put these big sticky notes down my hallway, and I said, if you want to if you want to grow in an area, put what the subject is on the top and write your name. And if you go down the hallway and you see something somebody else is doing and you say, I want to do that, that's my goal. So in the T-test or CF test, they have to pick a personal growth goal and a student goal. So they say, I want to grow in this area. So they selected that, and maybe 5 people signed up with them. Well, now they're on a track. So this is their learning track together, because I think people do better if they pick what they want to learn about, and then they do it with peers, right? Because they kind of hold each other accountable. So once they got in their track, they picked a peer to pair up with. So if we did a book study, or just articles that we selected, or they watched videos online, and then they try to, like my Brain Base, there's a big whole video series on how to bring that in your classroom. So they did that. We had like timelines, you had to do this, and part of it was they had to pick a partner, and they had to videotape themselves implementing their learning, and then give each other feedback. How am I doing? What did you think? What could I change? What could I add? And they just reflected with each other, and that was just them in a huddle saying, and we gave them very specific timelines. By this time, so it was PD, and they got hours for it. And then they also collaborated with each other, and then we went in and gave them feedback on implementing their goal. Because how many $1 million every year are spent by school districts on PD, and you never see it go into the classroom? So that was to see that happen in the classroom, like how I took this new learning. It's very powerful in ELA, especially if you're trying to do balanced literacy, very powerful tool to use that and do it with a partner as you're going through like the Jenner Safala book study. You can kind of, do that. So we kind of did that in different ways. We did it vertically, where we teamed up people vertically so that they could, since I was at a high-performing campus, I wanted my kids to go deeper, so I wanted them to see teachers teach it in the next grade level so they could see how they could go deeper and not like go off on another tangent, because we're always supporting where they're going and we're not like just adding to add, right?
So we have users from all different spectrums of our schools, from schools who are 90% economic advantage to schools that are, what is yours? 13% to even lower than that. It's just a wide range.
So we have a couple of minutes left. What questions do you guys have, or any thoughts that you're thinking about?
I wrote them down, can I go back up?
It really is a very simple system, too.
Oh, yeah.
Very simple.
What do y'all do about kids that what their parents have specifically said, no, you cannot photograph or record my child?
Well, you're not sending it out anywhere. It's an educational tool, right? So
Well, I said the same thing to our tech
Right.
person, and she
That's how we
shot
view
me
it.
down instantly. She said,
It's-
no, it's legal to law, so I figured I'd ask you guys.
well, we're not putting it on our
Yeah.
Facebook page.
It
We're
is.
COPA compliant, so they
It
are
is,
in their
okay.
own
We
space.
had, I think we had one situation where a parent emailed our school and said, hey, what's going on? My child says that there's a woman in here filming. And so my director of instruction responded with, the woman in there filming is an instructional coach and she's filming the teacher. And so, ask your child, like, what's the vantage point? Because it's not pointed at the kids,
Yeah.
it's pointed like at, so you can see, maybe you'll see the back of their heads, but you're literally really focused on the teacher. And then once we respond to the email with that, we never had an issue. And I'm at a school where the parents, they will definitely call and email. And so that's the only time.
And that's the key, filming the teacher. So this is not about the kids. This is about the teacher improving his or her craft. So we're filming the teacher. But we've talked about this with our school attorney as well. There is not an issue.
And the parents absolutely love it because they know we're checking in and making sure their teachers are doing the best job. And so they love the idea that they know that we are in there making their kids' teacher the best. So they kind of think it's kind of
I love that. That's a
good.
So
They
it's
do
all
think of
about,
it.
it's all about your choice in words with how you respond.
Yeah, because when they found that out, then we started getting emails like, well, there needs to be an instructional coach. in so-and-so's
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly,
whoa,
but
whoa.
they know, the thing is they know that we're in there all the time and they love that. So that's a comforting thing to the parents to know that we're on our game and we're in teachers' classrooms because we are.
We're making sure their kids are doing the best
Exactly.
education.
So I wrote struggles, but I don't mean with the implementation of it. I'm thinking, because I have some that are super techie and some that aren't techie. So my non-techie that I would have to drag into being able to use it.
You wouldn't have
What-
to drag
There
them.
is
Do
no
they use
tech.
There's
apps on
no
their
tech.
phone? Do
No,
they
we
use an
actually
app on
have
their phone? It's
Some of
an
them,
app.
it's just an app.
And
Then you would go in. Yeah, you would go in and you'd push the button and then.
But Becky mentioned that idea that, because I did technology implementation for Houston ISD, and so I learned very quickly that the number of clicks is directly proportionate to the number of excuses that people will put. And so we have a rule at CIVB that I bring up in every product development meeting, which is the rule of 3 clicks, right? Like a teacher should be able to do whatever they need to be able to do in 3 clicks in the platform. You saw Dave, we set this up, we're recording in CIVB right now, and he just opened it up and hit a button, and they're done. And when we're
Okay.
done, you hit a button, it uploads.
Uploads.
Yeah.
You don't do
Yeah.
anything.
Okay.
If you can use your phone and just very simply use your phone, because there's a lot of features on the phone too, right? Just very simply use your phone, you can do this. I can do this. Trust me.
What I did with, I had some teachers who were kind of scared of technology, and I just showed them, I was like, look, I have it on my phone right now, look how easy it is, and I showed them, and they were like, oh, and then I helped them download the app on their phone, and from there, because it's an easy app, they were pretty much like, oh, I got this.
Did y'all run into any teachers that gave pushback about using their own device?
In first, we did. I did at first because they're like, my data, but you know, we're on Wi-Fi and there's no data usage. They don't use their data, it's in the app. At first, there was a little, but we circumvented it because, you know, there will be people, but it doesn't use their data, so no.
And you don't have to use your phone.
And
No,
we-
you
yeah, I
can
was
use,
gonna
you
say,
can use a
Use
Chromebook, a tablet,
you can
yeah.
use whatever.
the phone makes it exponentially easier,
Yes.
but it is still 1, 2, 3.
If you have a flip phone, you can't do that. I think you can use a flip phone, I'm just gonna be honest. So you might have some that have the, like, you fall down and can't get up phones, but the ladybug or whatever, the jitterbug or whatever, you might have to go in there, but besides that,
Remember,
you
you can
can
use.
use laptops.
But part of successful implementation is taking out excuses,
Yeah.
thinking about anything that would be an excuse, anything that would be of a concern, and making sure you, in your presentation, talk about that before they get a chance to raise their hand and ask a question and try to derail everything that you just shared that's beautiful about this process. It only takes that one hand to get raised and to ask a question, and everyone's in the room like, oh yeah, I can think about that. So you have to have the forethought about those things before time and just mention it when you're doing your commercial.
The other thing I did is I would give, the first year of implementation, you probably did the same thing, I would give them articles in their box about, you know, research and just like, oh, this is a great idea, have you thought about, you know, just trying to like build that foundational understanding and sharing those kind of things with them. There's tons of stuff about it, and you know, and I gave PD for it. Like if you put a sticky note on my door after reading the article, you got an hour. So I would just like sticky note with a comment, you got an hour PD. If you participated in this, you got, they knew like every step of the way how many hours they would get. I just would give them PD. Just that kind of entices people too, and they get some PD and you're getting them to do what you kind of want them to do.
So we're 5 minutes over time, and I'm not, I just want to warn you in case you have somewhere to be. We're okay, but if you have other questions, feel free to ask.
I'm a teacher, and so like obviously I'm not able to do any of like I can't, you know, I'm not like one of the higher ups in my school. But it sounds amazing to me. Like as a teacher, it sounds really cool.
That makes my heart sing.
I would love to
I mean, we think that teachers should be in charge of their learning. That's
Absolutely. That's what this is.
yeah.
We were teachers.
Yeah, we were all teachers. Yeah. So.
Yes, we were.
I have, how long were your paid? If we were starting this next year,